Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Good Monday morning to you, July 7th in your nation's capital. It's 6:07. Thanks for tuning in here on a very busy news day. We got you covered, though, with everything you need to know to get your day started the right way. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to give you details on the shakeup in the front office for the Washington Nationals. Our buddy Andy Pollin from 630 ESPN will join us. It's 7:05 Joe to Geneva for his weekly visit. 7:35 brings us Grover Norquist to give you all the details on the tax breaks you're about to enjoy in the reconciliation package. 8:05, we'll talk to Ben Taleblu from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies about the latest in the Middle East. And then at 8:35, to that end, Ruby Chen, father of an American hostage taken on that despicable October 7th day, and we'll get his thoughts on Benjamin Netanyahu visiting the White House and potentially coming up with some sort of lasting peace deal. What that looks like, well, we don't know, but we'll talk about it. It's Larry O'Connor, and joining us all morning long is Bethany Mandel. Bethany, good to speak with you. Your writing is appearing everywhere these days. New York Post, Fox News. Where can people catch up with your work most?
Yeah, so I think the best way is honestly on Twitter and also on Instagram. Bethany Shondark on both.
Bethany Shondark.
But my kids are they're at summer camp, and so I've had so much time to write these days.
I was going to say, your writing is picked up. It's because the kids are out of the house. That makes sense. So let's follow up now on this horrific story coming out of Texas, because sadly, it's 2025, and so everything has to be shot through a political lens. And it all has to be Trump's fault, apparently, or Republicans' fault, or something like that. I mean, listen, I guess this isn't new, and I shouldn't say because of Trump, because, I'm old enough to remember when Katrina was George W. Bush's fault, right?
He doesn't care about black people, that's right.
That's right. And apparently now Trump doesn't care about white people or something. I don't know. But we actually had Democrats and members of the media saying that sweeping changes in the National Weather Service and DOGE cuts and some kind of negligence from the Trump administration led to these children and adults dying in these storms because they didn't get advance notice. They said that the National Weather Service didn't warn communities, that it was understaffed because of drastic cuts in the administration. None of it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, literally none of it is true, Bethany.
When they can't do this, when it's not a politician's fault, they blame it on global warming. Things just can't be sad. You can't just say, sometimes bad things happen. It always has to be someone's fault that they disagree with politically. And it's frustrating because we have documentation of the warnings that they sent.
Yeah.
It's not like they are, like, there's a speaker, like, there's phones that you can just take a screenshot and you can see flood watch warning, flood warning. They were overstaffed, but it happened at 4 a.m. and the water rose incredibly quickly.
Yep.
We talked about it in a previous segment. I think that they might have been a little numb to warnings because I saw on Twitter people talking about from the area that they get these warnings all the time. And so they just tune them out. And this is the boy who cried wolf, and I think that if we're going to learn any lessons from this, it might be in part that we need to change the way that we are warning people because people just didn't seem to take this seriously.
Yeah, and by the way, many people pointed to a tragic flood of Guadalupe River, 1987. Frighteningly similar situation where over 300 children from various churches were at the Seagoville Road Baptist Church Pot of Gold Christian Camp. And again, from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., camp officials were notified that there was a flood wave coming in the river, but they didn't evacuate the children until late. And again, tragically, 39 teenagers were swept away in those river floods as well. So, was it Trump's fault in 1987? Was it? I guess that was Reagan's fault back in 80. I mean, tragedies happen, but these were like big name media personalities and Democrats, not some fringe anonymous account on social media, Bethany, who said, "Yep, this is what happens. This is Trump's fault." It's despicable.
One of the worst, I think, was Ron Filipowski. How do you say his last name? Filipowski?
Yeah, I think Filipowski. But and again, he's kind of is he's not random anonymous. He's got a huge social media following.
Yeah. He said the people in Texas voted for government services controlled by Donald Trump and Greg Abbott. This is exactly what they're getting. Yeah. The little girls at Camp Mystic did not vote for anyone because they were little girls. But can you imagine if like large name conservatives had said that, and some did, but not many, about the Los Angeles wildfires? It's just horrible.
Right. Or about the hurricanes in North Carolina, where again, we don't blame the government. We did blame FEMA for not going down to North, and it turns out it was true. I mean, FEMA was literally ignoring houses that had signs for Trump in front of them. Yep. David Axelrod, the guy who engineered Obama's electoral victories in 2008 and 12, and now a CNN paid analyst. He said, "This horrific tragedy in Texas is a canary in coal mine. Yes, there's waste in government, but it also performs vital functions like adequately forecasting storms and coordinating with local authorities in a timely way." They did.
What I don't understand about these people in North Carolina and here with David Axelrod is that they are political strategists. How do they not see how politically unwise it is to get political at a moment like this? No sixth sense that like maybe this is not the time. I am astounded by it. And you saw in North Carolina, I think the response to that storm was part of why Donald Trump did as well as he did in North Carolina, because they saw how FEMA responded. They saw that they skipped their houses, that if they had a Trump sign up. Yeah. And, I think that, politicians should be better at politics.
I don't know if you're asking the question rhetorically or hypothetically, but I'll give you an answer, and it's Katrina. It worked in Katrina. George W. Bush.
I remember.
George Bush was a good man, and I think he was a very solid president. I also think that he made some mistakes as president. I also think that one of his biggest flaws is that he didn't stand up and defend himself.
Yep, that's right. And that's how we got Donald Trump.
And that is exactly how we got Donald Trump. Yep. And candidates after George W. Bush, I think they Republicans at least believed that was the way you were supposed to be, a dignified, nice guy that let people call you Hitler and just let it roll off your back. And you're right. That is how we got Donald Trump. And I'm glad we got Donald Trump because, we need to be able to defend ourselves. Because if a politician doesn't defend himself, then people who vote for that politician think, okay, well, if he won't defend himself, he won't defend me either. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And I know that Trump will defend me because of my politics. Anyway, it worked in Katrina. Remember, Bush won the election narrowly in 2000, right, with the Florida recount. 9/11 happens. He's seen as, a pretty patriotic and effective war president. He wins re-election in 2004. Katrina happens summer of 2005. They politicize that. They turn it into Bush's fault. Oh, sure, he might be good at fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, but he's letting people die here at home. And the next thing you know, Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House in 2006, and Barack Obama is president in 2008. So because it worked then, they repeat it every single time if they can.
Yeah, and that's why it's so nice as a conservative. I'm not Republican because I live in Montgomery County. So I'm a registered Democrat. But as a conservative, to see them fighting back and to see the Trump administration punching back is such a refreshing thing to watch.
It's wonderful and it's cathartic.
Yep,
it is.
Yep. And I urge people to do the same in their own personal lives. Don't let people on Facebook call you a racist. Don't allow that. Don't give them an inch of ground. Yeah.
Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who has become just one of the most unhinged, vitriolic numbskulls out there, which tells me he's running for president. He also used social media to attack Trump for this. He says, accurate weather forecasting helps avoid fatal disasters. There are consequences to Trump's brainless attacks on public workers like meteorologists. Again, all of it is based on a fraud It's all based on a lie. National Weather Service, frankly, should be applauded for the great work they did. It's not their fault that people did not take their warnings seriously. We'll get to some more of the unhinged attacks on Trump in the wake of this tragedy in just a moment. And a desperate plea from our friend Selena Zito. I think she speaks for all of us on this issue. We'll get to that coming up in a moment.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
And what a horror story in Texas. The flash floods in Texas, the Guadalupe River. 51 missing, 51 dead, more missing. Children at a camp. And you know, when the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis, because he's put this country in so much danger by his horrible, horrible decisions and this ridiculously immoral bill that he just signed into
There
law.
you go. That's Rosie O'Donnell. She rants on for another minute there. Of course, she fled to Ireland because Trump was making her overweight and psychotic, she claims. And she had to go to Ireland for safe haven and privacy, but apparently you can't shut her up even across the Atlantic. Rosie O'Donnell there horrifically. And I know, she's Rosie O'Donnell. Who takes her seriously? Actually, a lot of people take her seriously. This sort of feeds onto itself, sadly, in the fever swamp of blue sky and the left. And this is their narrative now. No facts will dissuade them from this narrative that Trump is responsible.
It's a weird tack to take when we have all the documentation there. And I hope, going back to the last segment, I really hope that Trump, when he comes out and, gives a speech, which I think he has to talk about this. He addresses these accusations head on, and he, pull up a big, beautiful chart next to you, like you did in Butler.
Well, I'll tell you, they're sort of doing that. Department of Homeland Security was really quick with their social media presence, saying this is wrong, here are the facts, this is what's happening. They're doing it in a very respectful and fact-based way, because let's not be like the left. We can defend ourselves and we can start attacking them, but let's not lose sight that families are still trying to collect their dead little babies' bodies right now. And it's so disrespectful. It's what they did with the school shooting too. Again, if it works once, then they will do it over and over again to try to politicize things. And it rips at your heart, frankly. By the way, we actually had the one good thing about social media is that you have people who know their stuff, who actually put out information and say, no, you're wrong about this. Let me explain. And trying to find this one post from a meteorologist who works in that area.
Yes,
and
I
knows
remember
it
that.
very well.
I saw that. I think that this is going to backfire on them. I think that, yes, I think it worked on Katrina, and, this is in the Democrat playbook, but the playbook is old.
It is.
And then I think that they're going to realize, and they somewhat did, in previous iterations of this play, that it has backfired. But I think this one is just so craven. I mean, even Ron Phillip, whatever his name is, he deleted his tweet. Even when Nina Turner calls you out, that's when you've just gone too far.
Here, it's Chris Martz is a meteorologist who has a modest social media platform. It's not like he's in this for some sort of, fame and glory. Responded to Norm Ornstein. Norm Ornstein had posted that Speaker Mike Johnson was a monster. A monster when vital staff were axed from NOAA and the National Weather Service. You said nothing when Trump vowed to eliminate FEMA, right? Okay, so here's the meteorologist explaining. He says, the flood in Texas was caused by the remnant mid-level circulation of Tropical Storm Barry merging into a trough over central Texas containing moisture that was advanced horizontally off the East Pacific. These remnant lows are typically slow-moving as their circulation is detached from the main jet stream flow, so they tend to drop a lot of rain, close to 120 billion gallons in this case over a concentrated area. This particular system stalled over the Texas Hill Country and caused massive flooding along the banks of the Guadalupe River. In 1987, a flash flood on the same river killed 10 teenage campers from the Pot of Gold Christian Camp. We just told you those details. Yep. While there's been an 11% cut to the NOAA National Weather Service staff since President Trump assumed office in January, there was still plenty of warning and lead time. The NWS office in Austin, San Antonio, issued a flood watch for Kerr County 12 hours before the flooding occurred and a flood warning at 1:14 a.m., 3 hours before the event. And all the details are there. And, this happens. Weather happens. And because the DEI staff has been eliminated from NWS, that doesn't mean that suddenly people are vulnerable and that tragedies are going to happen. Because HR has fewer people to, give seminars on racism and weather.
Well, I think one of the most important parts of his tweet also when he says your misplaced attack on Vice President J.D. Vance is a huge slap in the face to the hardworking meteorologists who worked around the clock to keep people safe.
Right. That's right. You really care about these governor workers. Yep. You're actually insulting them.
Yes, that's right.
By saying they didn't do their job. And as I mentioned, Selena Zito, who, by the way, I think her book is officially out now.
I think it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the publication day for Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm sure we'll have her on the show this week. She's one of the best. And she responded to many of these attacks with a very simple plea that I think speaks for all of us. I'll read it to you. She said, "Stop this. For the love of all that is holy, stop politicizing every single thing." Thank you, Selena. It's 6:23. Is it my turn to talk? Hey, thanks. Right now it's 77 degrees at 6:27. Coming up, we're going to check in with our buddy Andy Pollin at ESPN 630. All sports all the time. He'll give us the details on the firing of General Manager Mike Rizzo and manager Dave Martinez. Geez, they brought us a world championship. What more do you want? Well, maybe some more wins. Coming up, it's 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:36 on this Monday, July 7th. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company. We're going to keep you informed and entertained on your way to wherever you're going. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGeneva with his weekly visit. 7:35, Grover Norquist will tell you all of the tax breaks you're about to experience thanks to the reconciliation package. 8:05, we'll speak with Benem Ben Taleblu with Foundation for Defensive Democracies. We'll find out from him about Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to the White House and whether there is sustainable peace right now in the Middle East on the brink of happening. Is that a sentence? I don't think that was English. Bethany Mandel is here, thankfully.
I'll translate for you.
Keep my grabber in line. And Andy Pollin, who's a professional broadcaster here, ESPN 630. Of course, you hear him all the time talking about the greatness of DC sports. Although the Nats, Andy, since that glorious World Series championship, have not seen a whole lot of greatness, and that's, I guess, why we saw the massacre yesterday in the front office. What happened exactly?
Well, you understated there. Haven't seen a lot of success. Since they won the World Series, they have the second most amount of losses in baseball since then. A lot of extenuating circumstances in that, including the fact that they had a lot of injuries. Steven Strasburg, who they gave $245 million to, essentially gave them nothing and then retired. Yeah. But there have been, other things involved, including the death of Ted Lerner, the owner of the team, who made major moves before he passed away in February of 23. Mm-hmm. And since then, they really haven't done much. And there's been a lot of reasons for that as well, including, as Barry Zerluga described it in the Post today, like herding cats, because you have the two sons-in-laws who are involved, the two daughters. Mark Lerner is the managing partner, but he's got to manage all that. The grandsons are involved now. So, it's the end of an era, because I think Mike did a great job. And as he said in a text to Barry Zerluga of the Post, he said about being fired, "That's the job. I had a great run. Navigated that ownership group for almost 20 years. I think that says a mouthful there. That last
Interesting.
sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mike Rizzo and Dave Martinez, I mean, in a weird way, no one expected them to win the World Series the year they won it. That was a miracle year. They got in as the wild card. It was the baby shark phenomenon and just momentum. You see that a lot with teams where they overperform right when they need to. In a weird way, did that success, when it was unexpected, sort of hamper them from that point forward? Because ownership was like, oh, well, if you can win with these conditions, then, why should you expect anything better?
Well, I mean, they had a much better roster that year. They underperformed coming out of Memorial Day, where they were 19-31, and then, rose to the level that they should have been at, and then hit the right notes at the right time and went on to win the World Series. But I think that certainly saved them for a while. But the fact of the matter is, Mike did not do a good job in drafting and player development. He's done a wonderful job with trades. What they got in the Juan Soto trade, 2 of them are going to the All-Star game, in Wood and Mackenzie Gore. But, that's baseball. It's a results-based business. And if you have the second worst record in baseball after winning the World Series, you're not going to stay around much longer.
Yeah, and also, I mean, ticket sales have been on the decline, too. Last game I went to, I was shocked at how many empty seats there were, and that's got to be a concern, too, for ownership.
Well, of course. I mean, that always goes into it. But the question is, will they be able to hire somebody good to do this? If you know the history of this, the team moved here under the ownership of Major League Baseball. They did not have an owner. And they
from Montreal.
Yeah, and the Lerners inherited Jim Bowden, who's a buffoon and hasn't worked in baseball since he left here in a scandal. And the assistant general manager was Mike Rizzo. Right. And Mike Rizzo got promoted to general manager in 2009. And, I think, as he says in his statement, that he navigated that ownership group for 20 years. There's a lot of Michigas that he had to go through in that period of time. I give him a lot of credit for that.
You say Michigas. See, I'm a Michigander, so I understand.
That's okay. I mean, you say tomato and I say tomato. It's okay. But it says the same thing. And when you have the second most losses in baseball in 6 years, I mean, you don't stay in any organization, much less one that seems to have this kind of dysfunction.
So, I mean, I'm reading between the lines here, Andy, and you're usually, there's not a whole lot of nuance here. It sounds like you wouldn't wish this job on the greatest baseball mind, given the ownership and given the conditions. I mean, what are the chances that they're going to get a great GM to come in and turn the ship around?
Well, here's another thought on this. According to various reports, I don't know the exact date, but there was a window for renewal for both Martinez and Rizzo sometime this month. So if they picked up that option, they would be on the hook for them for next year as well. If you're going to sell the team, this happens all the time in business. You want to, have as little on the payroll as possible.
Yeah, clean slate.
Yeah, so I think that might be a factor. And, you hear the name Ted Leonsis a lot. I mean, he's made it clear that he wants to buy the team. I'm not so sure that would be the greatest option either. But I think most fans at this point would like to see them sell. Yeah.
But if they sell, could that change? Could they move out of Washington?
No.
I just want to make sure.
No. The stadium they have is good. No, and this is a big market. No, this is a very desirable place. Now, at one point, they put the team up for $2.1 billion, didn't get their price, and then have pulled back on that. But since then, we've seen the Celtics sell for $8 billion. We've seen the Lakers sell for $10 billion. Rising tides lifts all boats. So they may get their price and more if they were to put it up in the offseason.
What's the mood like in the clubhouse then when something like this happens? I mean, the players are already sort of, struggling and trying to do their best and bring their A game, and then you see this kind of shakeup.
Well, I mean, this happened in Baltimore earlier this year, and the Orioles didn't win the World Series under Brandon High, but they went from a terrible team to a really good team, going to the playoffs back-to-back years, and they may have played themselves back into possible contention. I mean, they got a ways to go, but under an interim manager, they're playing very well. And Davey made a statement a few weeks ago that did not go over well, according to reports. He said that coaches don't lose games, players do.
Yeah.
And I think there was some lingering. They went through an 11-game losing streak. That's never good, obviously. And then to get swept and clobbered by the Red Sox in this weekend series, that wasn't good either.
All right. Well, we'll keep a look. Do you predict they'll have a new team in place by the end of the year, or are we going to be interim until the offseason?
Oh, yeah. They have an interim GM, and they're supposed to name a manager today. I can't imagine they'll bring anybody in from the outside. I mean, they did.
But it'll. I guess what I'm saying is it'll just be interim through the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, even when they brought in Davey Johnson in 2011 when Jim Riggleman bizarrely resigned.
Remember that.
Yeah. He was interim until, he did a really good job in the second half, and they named him manager for the following year. That could happen, but, yeah, for the rest of this year, it'll be definitely an interim tag.
All right, Andy. Well, listen, they never said your job would be boring here doing sports in Washington, D.C., so we'll be tuning in a little later to hear more.
Well, I wouldn't be doing this if this were boring.
Thank you, Andy. ESPN 630. Always good to talk with you.
You too.
It is 6:44.
WMAL, making sense of education, because what's happening in your kid's school matters. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
What a legendary way to go out singing. Ozzy Osbourne, who, as you know, has suffered from some debilitating health issues with the revelation that he has Parkinson's disease, gave one final farewell performance with his band Black Sabbath in Birmingham over the weekend, and it was epic. If you like metal, there were representations from every major metal band of the last 40 years there. The concert was called Back to the Beginning. They raised money for Parkinson's research, and when it came time for Black Sabbath to come on stage, Ozzy appeared through an elevator lift in the bottom of the stage there. He rose up to the stage level in what looked like this giant Gothic black leather throne. It turns out it was on wheels. Basically, Bethany, it was a wheelchair. He was performing from a wheelchair. Unbelievable.
It makes me feel old to think that this is where we are, that he's in a wheelchair and this is the farewell tour. I saw the other day that Blink 182 on Sirius XM is marked oldies.
Oh, stop it. Yeah, see, that's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. When the music from your high school days is now on the oldies station, you know that you've turned a corner.
And seeing Ozzy Osbourne in a wheelchair, that's another sign that, wow, the wheels of time are just turning.
Well, listen, he's not only is he up there, and he's in his 70s, right? But he's also, I mean, let's face it, he through his own self-inflicted decisions, lived a pretty hard life. He put that body through quite a bit, legendarily, and it took its toll now with the Parkinson's disease. Steven Tyler was there, by the way, performing A Whole Lot of Love from Led Zeppelin. Brian May, the lead guitarist from Queen, was in the audience. He just wanted to be there to see it.
Yeah. Our friend David Draymond from Disturbed was also there.
Yeah.
It must have been a really special, incredible show.
Well, if you're wondering if Ozzy still has it, here's a little sound of him performing Crazy Train. It's from somebody's cell phone, but it's not bad. Take a listen. The best part is that the crowd is singing along with him to help him along, you know. I mean, it's just one of those things.
It must have been therapeutic for him.
Yeah. He formed Black Sabbath in 1968 in Birmingham. And so they decided that's why they called it Back to the Beginning. He decided to go back to the home city of Birmingham for one last concert. He's 76 years old, by the way. And it looked like, listen, if this is your thing, this was a concert to be at, right? I mean, you didn't want to miss it. And by the way, there was music from Anthrax, Metallica performed, Guns N' Roses, or what's left of Guns N' Roses. Was it actually Guns N' Roses, or was it Axelrod with a couple of other players? Was Slash there too? With Axl Rose? Wow.
And his daughter Kelly got engaged at the show. I feel like that's stealing some thunder. Oh, his daughter. Did I just say something else? Yeah, his daughter Kelly. I feel like that. No,
Kelly. You mean Ozzy's daughter?
Yeah. Just let Dad have that moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really, that is sort of stepping on Dad's headline, I guess.
A little bit.
Also, Jack Black appeared, and there were well wishes on the big screen from Elton John and Dolly Parton. Now, there's a mashup that never happened that we always wanted: the Ozzy Osbourne Dolly Parton love duet.
Oh, that would have been amazing,
right?
I feel like I'm connected to the Osbourne. I'm not a metal fan at all, but I watched the show when I was younger.
I was just going to say, too many people only know Ozzy from that dysfunctional reality show on MTV.
I loved it. Wow. No, but it's wild to see sort of where they are. Sharon is such a pisser. I love her.
Oh, she's something else.
Yeah.
She absolutely is. And a lot of people say that, sort of the resurgence and interest in Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne all came from her. She was in the music management business, and she married him. And actually, they ended up appearing on Howard Stern a lot, and that sort of brought Ozzy back into relevance from appearing with Howard. And next thing you know, everyone loves Black Sabbath again.
Power of talk radio.
Thank you. That's the bottom line here.
Let's bring it back.
Listen, if you like that raw, powerful rock and roll sound that only metal, and listen, he helped create metal. I mean, 1968, that was literally the birth of metal around that time. And that voice and his performance, that raw energy, that anger fused with musicality, that's what he was known for. And I mean, that's every single metal band after Black Sabbath basically sounds like Black Sabbath. You look at AC/DC, you look at Metallica, you look at all of these guys. That's really what they were emulating, sort of this blend of Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. Although Led Zeppelin isn't really metal, but it's that raw sort of. My dad used to say it was screaming, but it was on pitch screaming. There was musicality to it. Still is.
Yeah. I'm not a fan, but so we're friends with David Draymond, and he gave Seth and our oldest son tickets to come to the show, and so now my 10-year-old son is a heavy metal fan.
There you go.
And it's definitely an acquired taste, and I will say,
what a kind way for mom to put it. Yeah. It's 6:54.
Making sense of your world.
Talk radio is where I get all of my information.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
Coming up, we're told the Epstein case is closed. Nothing to see here. Well, we'll ask Joe DeGeneva about that and the latest Supreme Court wins as the session closed out. Joe, coming up next on WMAL.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.